This is Corrections Unlocked. What's up, guys? I'm Alex Duran. Thanks for tuning in to Corrections Unlocked. On today's episode, we're going to go over respect. Respect is a huge thing in prison, from inmates, from officers. So it's something I wanted to touch on just to kind of see where you're at and to talk about the challenges I face trying to earn my respect, something I'm still trying to figure out today. So why is respect important in prison? To me, respect is something that's earned every day you come to work. There's always new inmates hitting the yard. There's always new people holding the keys, shot callers, newer officers, seasoned officers. Respect is something you got to earn every day you hit the line. As a newer officer, you go to academy, you come hit the line, and you start working. You have zero amount of respect. I don't say that to hurt anybody's feelings. It's just the cold hard truth. I don't care what background you have. I don't care what you're about. I don't care if you were some local cage fighter. You have zero amount of respect, and you need to get that through your head. In prison, 200, 300, 400 inmates in a building, 1,000 inmates on a yard. There's always going to be somebody tougher than you. There's always going to be somebody smarter than you. And when you hit the line, everybody is reading you and watching every move you make. And that's okay. But as a newer officer, do not come in trying to demand respect. Do not try to come in down talking inmates. That's just not the way prison works. So if you're a newer officer and you're trying to figure out your flow, understand respect is something that's going to have to be earned every day. And it starts with knowing how to communicate with inmates, knowing how to talk to inmates just like you talk to anybody else. You don't down talk them. You don't try to belittle them. You talk to them just the way you'd want to be talked to. So if an inmate walks up to you and tries to bullshit with you, cool, small talk, see what's going on. You can learn a lot from him. You know, if you're in a building, an inmate, hey, what's going on? So-and-so, how's it going? It's cool, man. Everything good? Yeah, everything's cool. Are you new? Don't be afraid to tell inmates you're new because they already know you're new by looking at your boots, looking at your belt, looking at your uniform, and looking at you. Eye contact is key in prison. Everyone's watching you. Don't be don't take that as a bad thing or somebody's trying to challenge you. Just say, yeah, man, I'm new. I just started. Oh, okay, cool, man. So, I'm here. I'm a porter in here or whatever. Let them talk to you and just go about it. Don't take it offensive and, oh, yeah, why do you think I'm new? It don't matter. They already know, dude. So if you're new, cool. Accept it and let them know that. Yeah, man, I'm new. I just started just trying to figure out the flow of everything. How's it going? What are you in here for? Or who do you run with? Oh, okay, cool. What's the program? Talk to them. Learn from them. And see what they're about. And just kind of figure out your flow. Inmates are going to challenge you every day. That's okay. That's pretty much their job, is to see what you're about, to see what you're going to allow, and to see what they can get away with from you. Don't take it personal. It's a cat and mouse game. Just figure out your flow and go from there. So respect for me, especially as a newer officer, it starts with knowing how to communicate and knowing how to talk to inmates. Realizing there's no reason to down talk anybody. And when someone tries to challenge you, that's fine. Let them challenge you, but also let them know you're going to hold them accountable. And with that being said, you being new, a lot of inmates are going to feel like they can get away with a lot of shit. Let them know where you stand and what you're about. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to yell at anybody. If you're new and you're in a building and inmates are running around or going places they shouldn't go or jumping on the phones or whatever, cool. See who's doing it. See who's running the area. Call those guys over to you. I don't really like to chase inmates. I don't like to approach them if I don't need to. I call them to me. They're going to come whether they like it or not. So when they come over, address the issue. You don't need to yell at them. Yelling doesn't get nowhere, especially in prison. Let them know what's going on. Hey, man, you're jumping all over the phone. I'm not cool with that. So I need you to kind of cut that out. Address your issue, give them a verbal, and talk to them calmly. Now, if they don't want to respect that, that's cool. Then you take it up a notch. And that's completely fine. I expect inmates not to listen to what I'm going to say, but you need to understand your plan B. So Hey guys, I'm not cool with you guys jumping on the phones or you being on the tier. I need you to fix it. This is your verbal. Cool. Let them fuck up and do it again. Cool. Get their name, get their number. Now you hold them accountable. You don't need to yell at them because they're not listening to you. That's fine. Most inmates aren't going to listen to you regardless. But you need to let them know there's going to be consequences. So with that being said, go get their number, go get whatever it is you need, information you need to get from them. Now you're going to hold them accountable. Say, hey man, I already told you guys I'm not cool with this. I'm not allowing this. So with that being said, apparently you guys don't care to listen. That's fine. I'm going to have to write you up. Give them a reprimand. So you putting pen to paper is going to be something that's going to be way more effective than you think. 20, 30 days from now, report gets approved, it gets heard. Now they're losing something. That whole building's going to know what you did and why you did it. And now those 200-300 inmates in that building are going to think twice about doing wrong, especially with something you're trying to enforce. And you can do all this without raising your voice. You can do all this without chasing inmates. You got to figure out your flow. For me, I try to be cool, calm, and collective. I don't see any reason to yell at people. I don't see any reason to really get violent or angry. My flow is just being calm and addressing it as calm as I have to. Now, if an inmate wants to go there and get resistive or do something he's not supposed to, that's a different story. That's fine. We can go there if we need to, but I don't like to. Now, understand this. If an inmate's getting loud with you and he's trying to flex on you, that's okay. Most inmates are going to flex on you because of their audience. They're going to feel like they need to because of the people they're around. Most of these guys are gangsters. So if you confront one and you're talking to him, he's going to feel like he needs to do something. I mean, you would feel like you need to do something if somebody approached you around all your friends, all your homies. Don't take that as anything else but that. So with that being said, depending on where you're working, if you're working a mainline area, GP setting, and there's a lot of prison politics, no inmate's going to talk to you alone, first of all. That's just politics. They need to run in groups, especially when they're talking to an officer. But if you're working a S&Y area or an area that's not GP, and inmate's getting loud, take him away from his audience. That's what I do. That's what's worked for me. Call him into your office area with your partner, or even pull him out to the front of the building, or just separate him from the crowd. Hey man, let me talk to you over here. Fuck you. No, hey, that's fine, but let me talk to you over here. Cool. Eventually he's going to listen to you. And when you pull him away from the crowd, you're going to see a whole other person. I've done this 100 times and it's worked every time. When you pull somebody away from the audience, they change it to a whole other person because they don't got to put up a front. So with that being said, pull them away from the audience and let them know what's going on. Hey man, honestly, I don't appreciate you disrespecting me. I don't appreciate you cussing at me. I see you're getting upset. Can you tell me what's going on? Maybe you're just having a bad day, man, and that's fine. We all have good days, we all have bad days, but talk to me. What's going on? Hear them out. You don't know what that inmate's dealing with. You don't know if he got bad news. You don't know if maybe his old lady or somebody just stopped communicating with him or his kid stopped seeing him. Communication is a big deal and has eliminated about 95% of my problems. There's always going to be that 5-10% of guys that just want to fight, that just want to argue. That's okay. That's kind of what we get paid to do, is to deal with violence when we need to. But if you don't need to, don't do it. Get away from it. So if you pull somebody away from their audience and you talk to them one-on-one and see what they're about, most of the time it's going to de-escalate the whole situation. They're going to calm down. They're going to have respect for you in return for talking to them that way, for actually listening. Blue is blue, green is green. That's all inmates think about, right? It's not about that anymore. A lot of shit's changed. So when you talk to that person man to man or woman to man, whether you're a female or male officer, you give them their respect. In return, they're going to respect the fact that you took the time to pull them to the side, listen to what they had to say, and either gave them a verbal or gave them a warning. Hey man, you're having a bad day. I'm going to let this one slide, but I need you to check yourself. You good? Cool. Get out of here. It's that simple. You don't think the next day he's going to realize, man, I fucked up. So-and-so is being cool with me. He could have wrote me up, but he didn't. It's time you need to understand the flow. You need to understand politics. You need to understand how the game works. So with that being said, learning your flow, learning how to communicate is going to ultimately get you your respect in a prison. And that's something you got to kind of work on every day. It's going to be challenging depending on where you work at, whether you're a building officer, a yard officer, you work in an ADSEG setting. It all starts with how you communicate with inmates. If you're an ADSEG officer, you already know how inmates are. Every day, they're constantly trying to ask you for shit they don't have coming. I need this, I need this, I need that. Cool, if you don't give me this, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do, right? They want to see what you're about. They want to see how much they can push, how much they can flex on you. At the end of the day, if you just do your job, it's going to save you a lot more shit in the long run. And for all you officers out there that work at ADSEG setting and you're giving shit to inmates, especially in a lockup unit, I want you to remember every other inmate in that unit is like this on their window and they're watching you. So when you decide to be weak, 200 inmates in there know you're weak. They know this is all I got to do to get this, this, and this. And that's a bad thing in prison. Because you giving in to one person is ultimately going to lead you giving in to another 100, 200 guys. Because now they feel like they have that coming. But when you put up the fight and you run policy and you check the inmate when he needs to be checked, everybody in there is going to know so-and-so isn't going to allow that. So-and-so isn't going to run with that. He's going to hold his word. He's going to follow policy, so don't even go with him with that. It's going to save you a lot more mess in the long run, especially these old-timers, these OGs that are doing hard time. They don't have time for games. So when you're letting all these youngsters run around and cause a muck, it's causing a lot more issues for them. These guys are lifers. They were shot callers. They were running game. They were running riots. They were doing a lot of hard shit. And they got to do life in prison. You think they want a sloppy, lousy day room? No, they want a clean, controlled area to live in. And that starts with you enforcing the rules, you communicating with inmates, and you being approachable and knowing how to talk. So trying to figure out your flow is a huge thing when it comes to respect. Coming into a prison demanding respect isn't going to work. Coming into prison down-talking inmates isn't going to work. It's going to get you hurt. It's going to get you knocked out. So try to figure out your flow. Once you figure that out and you figure out what you want to enforce, you figure out your communication, you're going to feel a lot more confident. You're going to be a lot more respected because inmates are going to know you're consistent and they're going to know what they can and can't get from you. Now, you need to understand respect doesn't only come from inmates, but you need to figure out your respect from your partners. Because if you're a lazy cop or you don't want to do what you need to be doing, as a partner, I ain't going to have no respect for you. If you're lazy and you don't want to hold your end, why am I going to want to work with somebody like you? I'm not. And the word's going to get around. It's just going to create a bad vibe for you. So understand as a newer officer, you have nothing coming. Understand you got to put in the work, prove to your officers, your supervisors, and even these inmates that you're a fucking worker and you're going to do what you need to do. And eventually you'll start gaining your respect. People will start giving you respect because now you have that coming. But if you feel entitled, you're going to have a whole lot harder career than you want, than you need. I know communication is harder now with the newer generation, not talking the way people talked to in the past, not communicating face-to-face on the phone. But if you work in a prison, you need to understand somebody's always watching you. Inmates are always reading your body language, the way you talk, the way you look. So you need to learn how to talk to these guys. So trying to figure out your flow, learning how to communicate, I would start there. Once you've done that, once you've reached that, now you got to maintain it. You got to maintain it. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. But remember, when you hit the line and you check in, you got to hold what you hold. You got to do what you do. And if they expect you to be this way, then that's the person you got to be. And it's okay to communicate and talk and let these guys know, hey, man, I'm having a bad day, I'm not really feeling it today, so, I'll just try to keep it cool. We'll do this and do that. They understand what kind of day you're having because everybody has good days and bad days, and these guys will respect it. When somebody calls you out, when somebody challenges you, don't take it personal. Don't take it personal at all. Expect that. and know how to deal with that. Run that scenario through your head. When somebody disrespects you in a day room, how to deal with it. There's no reason to get loud. There's no reason to get violent. There's a way to check that person and figure out your flow and how to do it within your policy. If a dude wants to call you out and call you a bitch in front of everybody, okay, cool, whatever. But you need to address it. You ain't going to let that go. And you can do that within policy. You can call him over and let him talk to you one-on-one. Let him know, hey, dude, that's not cool. I don't appreciate you doing that. If he doesn't want to come to you, cool. I mean, he lives there. He ain't going very far. You know his name. You know his CDC number. Write him up. 2-3 weeks, everyone in that unit's going to know, well, if you call so-and-so bitch, they're going to write you up. You think everyone's going to be doing it? No, because there's consequences. A lot of people need to understand everybody in prison has something to lose. They wouldn't be around if they didn't. So putting pen to paper affects people whether they think it or not. And everybody can be a tough guy, but the second they're getting written up and they're being heard for a hearing or they're being reprimanded and losing something, now they're like, fuck. And then they're going to go tell old boy and homeboys and everyone's going to know what time it is. So don't be afraid to put pen to paper and learn how to write. Writing is a big deal, especially as you promote. You need to learn how to write. You need to learn how to use verbiage. So don't be afraid to do that. There's always going to be consequences in prison. Understand policy. Understand what rules you need to enforce. And know how to read inmates, just like they're reading you. Inmates are going to look at you up and down. They're going to know that you're new. They're going to know what's on your belt, what you carry, what you like to, what force options you like to use. They read everything. I used to carry my handcuffs in my back. That was my go-to. That's how they told me to wear my belt in the academy. And I had an inmate check me one time, and he said, "Hey, D, when you wear your stuff, I noticed you were reaching behind your back." That dude said he was going to clip you right in your jaw. So you putting that like that and exposing your whole face, man, like, I don't know, just be careful. And I always listen to what inmates say. I don't really take their advice when I don't need to, but I took that advice. So I started wearing my handcuffs here in the front. If I had an issue and I was going to handcuff an inmate, it was usually a bad situation. So me putting my hands here, it was a lot easier for me to protect myself than to reach all the way behind my back. Does that work for everybody? No. Is that going to benefit everybody? No, but that's just something I did that worked for me and has helped me as a correctional officer when I was walking the line. But don't be afraid to listen to these guys. A lot of them are smart and a lot of them respect you as an officer, especially when you're doing your job, especially when you're being fair and you give everybody what they have coming. So as a newer officer, understand respect is something that's going to have to be earned every day you hit the line. And it starts with talking to these inmates, giving them their respect, and enforcing policy when you need to enforce it, and communicating. You don't need to yell at anybody. You don't need to down-talk anybody. It's okay to listen to people. There's 200-300 inmates in your area. There's a lot of shit going on in their head. There's a lot of politics going on. There's drugs being ran around. There's debts that need to be owed. There's people that need to be checked. There's people that are finding out they're going to be doing more time than expected. There's people losing loved ones, people losing wives. A lot of shit going on. So the least you can do is when somebody gets out of line or somebody doesn't seem right, is to say, hey, is there anything going on, man? Listen to what they're saying. And in return, that inmate's going to be like, hey, so-and-so was actually cool, man. He actually listened to me. He didn't just fucking get all stupid and yell at me, man. That goes a long ways. A lot of violent inmates, some of the most violent inmates in the state that have hurt a lot of officers, that have done a lot of bad things, will act out and do very violent stuff until there's that one officer that goes and talks to them that they have a rapport with. And it's usually because they listened to them or they heard them out when they needed to be heard out. So something that simple will save a whole extraction, a whole bunch of officers getting hurt, just because so-and-so took the time 2 months ago to listen to him when he was talking about how his son passed away. Whatever. I'm not saying you need to sit there and babysit and be weak, but at least listen to what's being said when it needs to be said. If someone wants to talk to you about something, listen to what they have to say, and that's it. Now, if someone's trying to game you or trying to work you, understand that and draw that line. And the more you talk to these inmates, the more easier it will be for you to understand your flow. So that's all I got, guys. Respect is a huge thing in prison. It's something that's going to have to be worked on, something that's going to have to be earned every day. Don't expect it. Don't come in trying to think you're bigger, badder, tougher than anybody, because you're not. Know your role. Know that it's going to take time. And when you get it and you've earned it, try to figure out how to maintain it. That's all I got, guys, on respect. Thanks for tuning in to Corrections Unlocked. I'm Alex Duran. Thank you, guys.